Michael Knorr. I'm here at Sagrada Familia, Antonio Gaudi's masterpiece in Barcelona. I have mentioned Sagrada Familia in previous videos, but a recent visit to Barcelona has brought it to top of mind again. When I first saw Sagrada Familia years ago, it was languishing incomplete. It had already been under construction for over a century, and nobody knew when, if ever, it would be completed. Visitors were few in number compared to today, and only 4 of the 18 towers were complete. At the time, climbing to the top was no big deal compared to the reservation system that deals with crowds today. In the intervening years, a miracle has happened. The Basilica has been discovered by an international flock of architecture enthusiasts who have funded construction. All major parts are in place, and it is scheduled for completion in the next few years. Let's take an architecture minute to look at the masterwork of architect Antonio Gaudi. Most people immediately notice the rich architectural embellishments seen everywhere on the exterior of Sagrada Familia. Frank Lloyd Wright dismissed this as architecture with a laxative. The Spanish press translated his critique as architecture with a suppository, which made no sense to anybody. But the really significant aspect of the Basilica is the engineering. You will notice that the columns here are not vertical. They are set at angles, and towards the top they branch out like the limbs of a tree. These organic shapes are not just decorative or whimsical. There are structural reasons for every branch and every angle. If you did a structural analysis with force diagrams for the weight that is carried by columns and beams, it would follow the angles that we see. The goal is to keep the structure as light and minimal as necessary, no bulky buttresses or thick walls. Gaudi designed it this way to introduce more light into the interior space. Long before Gaudi came on the scene, Gothic architecture had the same goal and approached this structural challenge by absorbing forces with flying buttresses. This placed much of the structure outside of the enclosing walls. The walls thus became screens of stained glass, liberating the space within by maximizing natural light. Gaudi addressed structural necessities in his works by first building models using suspended chains weighted proportionally to mimic the forces that would stress the structure. Then, turned upside down, this became a model that showed the most efficient angles for the structural elements. It was an innovative and revolutionary approach to engineering. Sagrada Familia is usually classified as belonging to the Art Nouveau movement because of its sinuous decoration. But I believe it is really the last of the great Gothic cathedrals because of its structural solutions. This leads us to another dramatic effect in Sagrada Familia, the lavish use of natural light. Walls and floors are bathed in lush colors from light filtered through stained glass. It is impossible to convey in pictures the total effect of structure and light. That is true of any building, of course, because pictures are two-dimensional and architecture is three-dimensional. But it is especially true for Sagrada Familia because the structure is so unusual we have no mental reference points to interpret two-dimensional images of a very unorthodox design. That is why perhaps Sagrada Familia is being discovered and visited by more people every year. Like all great architecture, it must be discovered in person to be fully appreciated. Gaudi would be pleased. He conceived of Sagrada Familia as an invitation to the entire world to experience spiritual revelation.